Hello everyone. Welcome once again to our health analysis with Python Pandas video tutorial where we are discussing about blood test data analysis. This is the part 3 of this series. So we are doing this project on the request of some students so that they can understand the importance of data analysis and machine learning on a single project from scratch to end. Before this video, on our channel Color Stack, we have posted part 1 of the blood test report analysis series, and we have also posted part 2. So after part 1 and part 2, we will now discuss part 3, and in the part 3 our focus will be on applying decision tree algorithm on this data. Decision tree is an algorithm that belongs to supervised machine learning, and if you want to understand what is machine learning, what is supervised machine learning and unsupervised machine learning, then on channel we have videos explaining in great detail about the theory of what is machine learning and how it is classified. I will provide the link in the description. I will provide all the links in the description of this video, how you can get this data set and how you can proceed. Even I will provide this code so that you can copy the code and run yourself, and then you can practice on your own. So in this data set we have patient name, age, gender, hemoglobin, WBC, platelet, glucose, cholesterol, and a column that says is the patient well or unwell. So when a data is like this, there are several variables which we call feature variables or simply input variables, and there will be one variable which we call as output variable. So here this is unwell is the output variable because is the person well or not well depends upon these properties, these values. So if the person has a age, his gender is male, his hemoglobin value is 14.2, WBC count is 8.5, platelet count is this and that. So is that person well or unwell? So we are trying to find or predict if we randomly provide these parameters, can our algorithm predict that the person is well or unwell? This will help the person in analyzing based on their blood test parameters. This will help the person in analyzing whether they are well or unwell. And based on this type of analysis, you see that in blood reports you will see those parameters mentioned like the range, the healthy range and the unhealthy range in blood reports is mentioned on the basis of this type of research. So now let's move further. So we have loaded the data, we have printed the head, which is top 5 rows. We are not going in basic this time. If you want to learn from basic, just watch the last 2 videos. So now we have this data. The first thing that we are going to do is we have to prepare this data for machine learning and particularly decision tree. Now, if you want to understand what decision tree is in great detail, so on our channel we have a dedicated video where we have explained it, but I will give you a simple summary here. Decision tree basically works on taking decisions, and with every decision there are some outcomes, and on the basis of those outcomes we take another decision, and then there are other outcomes, and then finally we decide something. So for example, here the person is trying to decide whether or not he should play. Okay, let's say he wants to play golf or anything. So here the branch represents a decision rule and each leaf node represents the outcome. Okay, the topmost node in a decision tree is known as the root node. For example, if you want to play any sports, let's say cricket or tennis, whatever. So let's say the humidity is very high and the humidity is normal. Okay, if the humidity is very high, I'm sorry for the image not being clear, but you can watch the video, you will understand. So if the humidity is high or normal, so then we will take another variable in consideration. What is the outlook? If the humidity is high, then what is the outlook? So outlook is sunny, we will not play because it will be hot and humid. Outlook is overcast, then we will play yes, because obviously it is humid but overcast outlook is there, so temperature will not be so much and we can play. Outlook is rainy, then also we can play. Again, this totally depends upon person to person, whether they want to play in a rainy outlook or not, but this is how you decide. Similarly, if humidity is normal and it is windy, so we will not play. Windy is true, will not play. Playing something like golf in windy, humidity normal, this is the decision. And if windy is false, then we will play. So, for example, you are playing badminton and it is very windy out there. So, playing badminton in a windy weather is very difficult. So, all of these things totally depend upon case to case, person to person, and scenarios change. But this is how you come to a conclusion. Okay, and in this case, also in data sets like this, based on these parameters, what is the gender, which can be male or female. Okay, then if it is male, what is the age group we can say, right? Okay, then in this age group, what is the hemoglobin, what is the WBC, what is the platelet count, what is the glucose, cholesterol, and then we will take the decision whether the person is well or unwell. So the model will get trained from this data on the basis of these already existing values, and with our training data set we will be able to create a model that can predict the state of being well or unwell on the basis of provided values of all these parameters. So now let's step further and prepare the data set. So we will call df is equal to data dot drop patient name, because this is something that will not be needed. Patient name is unique for all the patients, and this is a sample data. So with patient name we cannot do a lot more calculations, so we are dropping patient name. So we usually put it inside a list, whatever columns we have to drop, and then we provide axis is equal to 0 or 1, or you can write directly axis is equal to columns. So let's see what happens. Now when you will see df, so you will see this particular column or field has been dropped from the dataset to drop something. So when you are preparing the data, just make sure whatever parameters or whatever fields are not necessary, just drop them. Now, in order to work with machine learning algorithms, we cannot use string data type columns. So we have gender, so male and female, but when you will provide this parameter into the algorithm, uh, it will not work because it needs all numerical values. All other columns are numerical, but this is not. So here is a simple trick how you can work with this. There are many ways of working with such variables, but in the variable, if there are two values, you can work here. If you want to see more about decision tree classification, then in this video you will see we have applied it on Titanic dataset, and here you will see more examples of how we can do the same thing. But again, coming back to this, so there is a method called replace. Okay, so what we are doing is we are using replace. Okay, so first we will select our column. So df dot gender. By the way, this is another way of selecting a column. df dot gender, one column. Okay, and dot replace, and here you have to create a dictionary. A dictionary is in form of key and value pairs. So the key will be male. We want to replace male with 0, and we want to replace female with 1, because this is a column where we have a binary data. So in this case, in our data set we have only male and female. If we have other genders, if people identify themselves with other genders, if we had that, then we would have used a different approach. So we can use label encoders, which we will discuss in other videos, but here we are using this simple replace dictionary. So in the dictionary, the key will be the value in your column that you want to replace, um, and this the value of that key is actually the value with which you will replace. So right now when you will run this, so nothing will happen in the data set or the column. It is just showing us that it will be replaced like this. Okay, and what we are going to do, we can say df. We are creating a new column here called, obviously we can use in place is equal to true to change the gender, but sometimes as a beginner that feels a little bit difficult. So what we are doing, we are creating a new column. So we will have a new column which is the numerical representation of gender. So let's call it gender now, whatever you want to call it, and I want to call it is female. Okay, is female, because if it is a female patient, so it is 1. If it is a male patient, it is 0, right? So is female, is the patient a female? If it is 1, then it's female. So this is how you can create a variable and just write it like this. So this way what you will achieve is df is female, replace. A new column will be created in our df, and when you will see this is female is there, right? So now we can drop this. So we'll use the same thing. df is equal to df dot drop gender, and we are doing this because when we have to separate our columns as inputs and output, then in inputs we cannot have a string value. So that's what we are doing. So we will drop it, and when we will use df dot head 2, so you will see none of our columns are now non-numerical. Now what we can do here is, let's use a method called info. So this info method will let you know that there are total of 50 entries, and every column has 50 non-null entries. That means there is no missing data. Okay, if there was a missing data, or let's say if in your data set there are some null columns, so what can you do? So here is another video that we have related to data munging and cleaning. So here, missing data management in Python pandas. So you can follow this video where we have discussed in great detail of how to handle
And here
missing
are
data.
various data.
Okay, like here you can see temperature is missing, wind it is missing. So in this case also, this is by the way the similar data for that decision tree that we were doing. So now we come back to our analysis, and we can see in our case that is not applicable, so we will remove we will ignore it. Otherwise we will go with replacing the null values or handling the missing data that is explained. So on our channel you will find everything related to data analysis with Python pandas, with Power BI, with Tableau. So whatever is your favorite tool, even with R language, so you can go to our channel and explore more videos if you are a beginner or if you are a working professional in the field of data analysis. So after analyzing that everything is fine, now we have to separate X and Y. That means we have to separate input and output. So in our case, the input is actually inputs. There are many values, and then there is Y. So X is called the input parameter or the features that we are going to take in order to train our model. Okay, so if we write df.drop is unwell, just this one column we are dropping is unwell, and we will say that uh, the axis is columns because we are dropping from columns, right? So this is going to be our x, that means all the inputs that we have. So this is inputs. You can see here we don't have is unwell. Okay, let's write head so that it doesn't take too much of a space in our notebook. So now we have all inputs. You have to remember the sequence. Sequence is age, hemoglobin, WBC, and so on. So you have to remember the sequence, which will come in the later part. And the other important thing is for machine learning, when you are going to use an algorithm to predict the data or to train the data. So in machine learning, what you can do is you can or what you should do is your x or the input should always be a data frame or 2D. Okay, so it should be 2D, which is data frame, and the output, that means the y parameter, the y variable, it is simply df square bracket is unwell. Okay, so we did not drop it from the df, but we saved a copy of it. So is unwell is still in the df, and that we are taking in this, and let's print top 5 rows to see. You can see, so now your y will always be 1D or a series. Okay, these are the basics of data frame which we have covered in many of our tutorials, which you can find on our channel. So after finding our x and y, now this is the time to import our decision tree algorithm and create a model with it. So from sklearn, if you remember the last video, we use sklearn to import the linear model. This time we are importing tree. Okay, this is module tree. This module includes decision tree based models for classification and regression. Okay, so we have tutorials for both classification and regression on our channel itself. I am saying it again and again, but this is for those students who want to learn more. So you can always, after finishing this video, you can go to those videos and learn more related to decision tree, so that this concept is actually clear to you. and then you will create like this. Okay, and then you will use model.fit and your x and y. So here you can see decision tree classifier is fit, and now we can actually find out or predict y for any given series of values. Okay, so I'm going to copy the sequence here. Okay, the sequence is this. So this model can predict. So when we use the predict function, we use two square brackets because data should be two-dimensional, and then we will write the sequence because if you remember, this is age, hemoglobin, WBC, platelet, and in that sequence is female or male. So what we are going to do, let's alter some data, 56, and let's say hemoglobin is 8.2, WBC is this much, platelet count is 71,000, and you have to use comma because these parameters will be provided in the same sequence and other things are same. And let's say is female, this last is female, right? So the is female is 1. So we are predicting whether if a female who tested uh, who got tested and had her blood report. So we are testing if she has these parameters, then is she well or unwell, right? And obviously the data that we are going to use is the data of 50 patients that we collected as an experiment. But suppose you have real data of 50,000 patients, then the accuracy will be better. This is just a model, a research that we are doing here, and the array is 0. So is unwell 0. She is not unwell. Okay, as per the data again. So this is going to be a warning which you can ignore. So this is a very basic concept that we discussed here, and we can even do model.score and write x comma y. Okay, so this is giving 1. uh, it says it's 100% accurate, but this is for beginners, right? Here we did not split the data into training and testing data sets. We just use this data to predict something. And the whole purpose of this video is to give you an understanding of how decision tree works and how these algorithms work. So in the next part of this series, in the part 4, we will come up with more algorithms, something like logistic regression, and see the accuracy and see how, and we will also discuss splitting the data set into training and testing data sets so that we can first train the data set on, let's say, 60% of the data or 70% of the data, and then test the accuracy of algorithm on rest of the 30% of data. So all of that will be in the next part of this video. Please subscribe to our channel if you want to receive regular updates for videos like this. We'll be doing more videos related to data analysis with pandas, with Power BI, with Tableau, and with Looker Studio, Google Looker Studio. We have all those videos. Please explore them and share your feedback about our video. Thanks for watching.